very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society.
Now we need a sense of global responsibility. Think 6 billion humanity equal.
Sometimes it falls upon a generation to be great.
Because a vision softly creeping left its seeds while I was sleeping.
It is time that we all perceive gender on a spectrum instead of two sets of opposing ideals.
We must rise to the majestic heights of meeting physical force with soul force.
Within the sound of silence.
But in order to talk freely of those things, you have to release yourself of those pains.
You see, love liberates. It doesn't bind. Love says, I love you. I love you if you're in China. I love you if you're across town. I love you if you're in Harlem. I love you.
If you hit a Talib with your shoe, then there would be no difference between you and that Talib. You must not treat others that much with cruelty and that much harshly. You must fight others, but through peace and through dialogue and through education. Then I said, I'll tell him how important education is and that I even want education for your children as well. And I'll tell him, that's what I want to tell you. Now do what you want.
And in the naked light I saw 10,000 people, maybe more.
You can be that great a generation.
I said that why shall I wait for someone else? Why shall I be looking to the government, to the army, that they would help us? Why don't I raise my voice? Why don't we speak up for our rights?
One day right there in Alabama, little black boys and black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and white girls as sisters and brothers. I have a dream today.
Confident that with your help, man will be what he was born to be, free and independent.
You know what's right. Just do right. You don't really have to ask anybody. The truth is, right may not be expedient. It may not be profitable, but it will satisfy your soul.
Of course, the task will not be easy, but not to do this would be a crime against humanity.
All that is needed for the forces of evil to triumph is for good men and women to do nothing.
Think about my granddad's laugh. Think often about that night. About how some people are waiting for people like us to slide our hands against their walls and say, close your eyes. I'm going to turn on a light.
This is CHRW. My name is David Seston. You're on with The Forum. This is a program where we're going to be talking about the more difficult things that are approaching university students in a safe environment where everybody's not afraid to talk about the hard subjects. Today we're going to be talking about what you're going to do with the rest of your life. And it sounds a little bit more frightening, but I think it is for a lot of first-year students. You've made it into university, and a lot of your expectations have changed. Maybe this isn't the program that you thought it was. Maybe you're finding something else that you like, or you have no idea what you're going to do. It gets worse as the years go by, or it gets better. Where you're forced to make different decisions to find different programs or maybe make different choices. So tonight I'm joined in the studio with Greg, Zach, Bree, and Fatma. I'm sorry, I'm horrible with names. Everybody who listens to me knows that. And we're going to talk about our experiences and have a little bit of a discussion about how you go about making those decisions and how you go about figuring out what to do with the rest of your life. So I'll go first since it's my show. And the idea is I'm a little bit different than everybody else. For those of you who don't know, I'm 36 year old and I'm a first-year student here at Western. I've had a little bit more time to sit around and figure out what to do with the rest of my life. And I've had a lot of different jobs and I've been to a lot of different places in the country. And it's taken me this long to figure out I need to go back to university. I need to do something better with my life. And I'll tell you flat out, initially I thought I was just going to go to law school. I thought that anthropology would just be something fun to sit around and do until I got into law school. But having done anthropology, my plans sort of got flipped on their head. I'm really enjoying anthropology. I'm really enjoying sort of sitting around, talking with the professors, coming up with ideas, even the possibility of research grants and doing a paper when I'm in first year, which is a little frightening and daunting, but with the help of some people even in the room, it might actually become a possibility. I don't know. We're going to work on it. So even me, who sort of had a plan to it, has been flipped on its head even within the first 3 months of university. I can't really imagine what it'd be like as an 18-year-old kind of coming into this university prospect and figuring out where to go. So with that, my story is really short, I know, but you're going to hear me talk for the rest of the hour, and that's fine. I'm actually going to go over to the youngest member of the group, and that's Fatma, and you do have some ideas, and things have changed for you. So can you tell us your story.
Okay, well, my story originally was I wanted to be a doctor. That's what I started off doing, wanting to be. And I'm still in first year in the science program. My parents wanted me to go to MedSci, just because MedSci has medical in it. So they wanted me to go to MedSci, but my average wasn't high enough, so I went to sciences. They weren't as happy with that, but like I'm at Western, got in. It's only been first semester, and second semester started, and I kind of switching my mind. I kind of want to go into nursing now, just because, well, for me, I like working in the healthcare and stuff. Like, I've done a lot of volunteering and co-op and all that work in the healthcare field, so it's my passion, so I don't want to, go away from that. But the thing is, med school might be a little hard, especially with the science average. So I was thinking of switching over to nursing after first year, and then doing 4 years of nursing. But the thing is, with nursing, it's you can't apply straight through Western. You have to apply through OUAC. So even if you're at Western already, it doesn't help you at all. You're applying outside of Western, you're in the competition pool with everyone else. And it costs about $325 to apply. So if you're going to apply, you have to actually know you're going to get in. And the average to get in is 70, I think. But the competition pool is always higher. It's always 83. And I wasn't even close to that average this year because of calculus. Yeah,
so things are changing for you.
Yeah.
That brings up a couple of other points, which we'll come up to in a second. I mean, we're going to keep talking with Fatma for a second, but you've got an idea of where you're going, but coming into university, it's not exactly as easy as you thought. Yeah. So, and I think that happens for a lot of people. And when they get into university, it's not nearly as easy as they thought it was. You're used to being an A student and everything else like that, except for me. So what are the other options that you've considered now?
Well, what I did was I met with a science counselor to see what my options were, and I could either switch to an easier program, get a high average, apply to nursing. First year and second year average are probably not going to be high for science, probably med sci students too. So it's harder to apply to different programs just from my average straight up. So the couple options that were given to me was either apply for compressed time frame after second year, and then
okay, so hold on a second for those who don't know, like me, because I'm in social science. What's a compressed time frame?
Compressed time frame is when you do the 4 years of nursing in 19 months, I think, approximately. But the 85 average to get in, and you need 2 years of university, so 10.0 credits to get in, so that would need 2 full years of school. And I was talking to the guidance counselor, and she was honestly, your first year and second year average are not going to be high enough. Well, unless even for me, I honestly think that it will not be high enough to apply. So I was thinking of doing 4 years of any degree, finishing it. I kind of want to stick with sciences just because biochem is kind of something I like. So I was going to stick with biochem, do that for 4 years, and then after that apply for compressed time frame after the 4 years. So in 6 years, hopefully I'll have 2 degrees, nursing and science. That's my plan right now.
Okay.
And yeah.
So you're definitely it's looking like you're going to have to do additional time just to get what you want.
Yeah, I'm still in first year, and it's looking 6 years minimum.
Yeah.
And the hardest thing though isn't even applying. The hardest thing is convincing my parents that's what I want to do. They're still stuck on med school and stuff. My mom's kind of more open to the idea, but my dad, I kind of tried to bring it up slowly, but he's still yeah, that's not happening. So
that's two really good points that we're going to circle back to. One is sort of the financial aspect of university and changing your ideas, and then family pressure. So if I don't get back to it, guys, please remind me that's what we're going to is there anything what is outside of the academic Is there anything else that's helped you sort of try and make a decision, or is there anything you're doing?
Honestly, volunteering and working are the two things that I find like that show your passion. What I did was, I don't know if most cities have this, but I was from Burlington, and they had a program called SHISM, Specialist High Skills Major. So what you do is like you go into a specialty you might want to go into. So I picked healthcare and nursing and stuff, and you do that. You do courses related to that for 2 years. You're taught by an actual nurse, at least from my program. And
Keep going.
and when what you do is like you get a lot of co-op and experience from the program. You do health classes for the 2 years of high school, and it's basically first year nursing in high school. So it gave me a lot of experience and stuff, and it showed me like what I really wanted to do. So yeah, I was even considering applying to nursing from grade 12 straight up.
Wow.
But my parents were stuck with science, so I applied to sciences. And yeah, so I feel like if you do volunteer work or co-op or anything like that, you'll see what like you're interested in. So maybe like you didn't know that like working at a bakery was your thing, but like you find out it is.
Yeah.
So like the only way to find that is to actually like try.
That's actually a really good idea. That's cool. So we're going to come back. We're going to keep talking, but I've kind of allotted everybody just a little bit of time, just tell their stories, and then we're going to go do the real conversation. And because I want to do the boy girl thing, because I have 2 boys and 2 girls, it's I don't think it's always going to be like this, but it's awesome. I'm going to let one of you 2 guys pick. So who's going to go first? Zach. So this is Zach. I'm a little bit lucky in that a lot of my softs have volunteered for this. So these are people that I think are particularly awesome and whose opinions I really, really trust, and I'm lucky that they're here. So this is Zach, otherwise known as Breakfast. And so Zach, talk to us. What has your school been like? Tell us what program you're in, what year, that sort of thing.
Thank you. So I'm in 4th year psychology and dimensions of leadership. So my psychology degree's on Maine, and my dimensions of leadership is at Brescia. But that was not originally what I actually wanted to go to school for. I got into Western for music, and my original goal was musical therapy. And I always thought that I wanted to do musical therapy, and I wanted to work with populations that had special needs and all of that, and that was the dream for me. Like, that was why I went to university and wanted to get the education that I was going to get. So when I got in for music, I went in for my orientation day, and I talked to a guidance counselor. And while I was talking to the guidance counselor, he was telling me all about all of his friends that have done musical therapy, and none of them actually went through school for music. They all just went in through psychology. So he gave me the idea that I was going to, or that a good idea rather, would be to go in for psychology and then to take all of my music stuff and all the conservatory training and all of that, and do that outside of school in addition to psychology, and then test from there if I like it, because then it leaves options open for everything else, graduating with a psych degree. So I took a long time, thought about that. I realized he was probably right. So I went into psychology. I went back to the same guidance counselor probably a week later after making the decision. And then...
So hold on, I got to interrupt you there for 2 seconds. A long time is about a week?
Yeah, it was a long time, but also, okay, it was a long time considering that school was coming up, because this was like in the summer. So it was a long time for me to like sit and stew about it, because a week just like... Was
this in between years? Or before you got in?
Before I actually went into first year university.
Okay, so you'd already come into a crisis before you even got here.
Before university had even started.
Lovely.
So eventually I decided on psychology, went in, talked to the guidance counselor about courses that I might like, and he recommended that I take, like, I picked out 4 4.0 credits, and he recommended that I take Dimensions of Leadership at Brescia, just based off of a couple of the classes that I'd taken in high school. Ended up taking it, fell in love with the program, absolutely adore it, and have been taking it for 4 years now. I'm in my practicum placement for it at this point, and it's like a specialized form of business, if that makes sense to anyone else. So I'm doing that in addition to psychology. There's a lot of overlap between the two, but I really do love it. It was amazing. But what I did figure out is that musical therapy was not my passion, and that I'm not going to be doing that as a future career. As much as I do love psychology, that form of psychology didn't speak to me as much as the other ones did.
Mhm.
So I ended up, as I went through my years of university and getting great grades in some and not so good grades in other classes, I figured out what I actually liked and what I was going to do with all of my time here.
Cool. So you're at the end. You're at the end of, I guess, the first part of university, because there is life after this, I guess, maybe.
Yeah.
Have you decided what you're going to do after university? What you're going to do with the rest of your life?
That's a terribly hard question, and I have not decided yet. I'm thinking, I know I want more education at some point in my life, but right now I don't know if I'm going to take a master's program right now, or whether I even want to do a master's program. I'm pretty sure I do, but college is also an option. I could do something else. Whether I want to do that or work for a year maybe and then do that, or work for a couple of years and then do more education, make some money, because university is expensive. And even if I want to stay in London, I don't know if I want to stay at Western and do it, or whether I want an experience elsewhere. I've looked at I've looked at programs in Dimensions of Leadership, and it looks like if I wanted to pursue that academically, it'd be out west, so in BC or Alberta or something like that. But even after that, I don't know if I want to go into academia or whether I want to go into like a business setting, or really what I want to do. I think I want experience in both, because how am I really supposed to know what I want unless I've tried it? So academia-wise, like I love writing papers. I love doing all of that research. Like I could write for hours. So that appeals to me. And also maybe being a professor, teaching after that. So combining, academia and like working with other people. Or whether I want to go to a business setting. Again, I really don't know at this point.
Yeah. It's a lot. There's a lot to sort of take in. So that's Zach's 5 minutes, and there's a lot, and there's more to it. It's like, what are your options? How do you do your options? And these are more things we're going to come back on in a minute. So if I forget those, let me know. And we're going to come back over to the ladies, back over it's like a foot and a half maybe. And this is Bree. She's a social science soph. She wasn't actually my specific soph, but I got to hang out with her a bunch for a week as well. So
a lot of card games.
Yeah, a lot of card games. So tell us about yourself, Bree. What program, what year, the whole deal?
I am in my third year of criminology, and it certainly did not start out that way. When I originally was coming to university, I didn't exactly know what I wanted to take. I just knew where I wanted to go, and that was definitely law school at the time. My plan was I came in for arts, and my social science team will not let me down for that, but I came in for arts, and I was in English, technically, as my major. And the three main full year courses I took were English, political science, and sociology. And I just decided, my thought was whatever one I do the best in would be the one that I used as my major, because I didn't care about what I was taking or what I was learning. I just wanted whatever was going to get me to law school at the time. And what I ended up deciding to do was do a double major with sociology and English, but I was planning with my sociology part that I would take a bunch of courses in crim, because crim was interesting to me, but you can't take criminology until second year because it's a branch of soc. But I found out the hard way in second year that if you try to mix in arts, which has a lot of essays and a lot of writing, versus sociology, which is mostly, for the most part, just exams, that you don't get a break and you're always exhausted, and it's just one assignment after another. And I learned too that I'd never wanted to do my English papers. I never wanted to read those books. I'd rather, like, the concepts in criminology and just how relevant it felt to the everyday life and scenario. I just loved it. I fell in love with it, and it was hard for me though, because I was always told an honors double major that looks better for grad school, or having reading, writing, comprehensive capabilities for law school looks amazing. So it was almost like I came into this like inner conflict with like what I really want to do versus what I've been told is best for me. And I think another thing that makes like my situation a little different maybe is being a first generation student. So for those who don't know, a first generation student is when you're the first person ever in your family to attend university. So my dad dropped out second year, so technically I've beat him now. But other than that, nobody else in my in any recent history in my family has stepped foot in a university campus. So the idea that I fueled my parents and my family with the idea that I was going to go to school and be a lawyer, and I think my parents, they're supportive and they're amazing, and I love them to death, but I know that they had that, like, they were like, oh, well, Bree's going to go be a lawyer, she's going to just go to law school and whatnot, and despite knowing that they would still support me if I didn't, it was almost like I felt like I was letting them down by realizing that's not what I want to do anymore. And what I realized the hard way between second and third year, and I don't think I'm alone in this, is that it's almost like the idea of becoming a lawyer was better than actually becoming one. Like, it's like the status title. I wanted to be that kid who, like, could put the status, like, applied to or got into law school, or I wanted to be like the person they talk about at the hometown, like when they all meet up in for like 4 years and be like, oh well, Brie couldn't make it because she's writing her LSATs or she's writing some big paper in law school. Like, and I thought that idea was so great, and then I realized that I didn't want to do it though, and like that's a lot of time and money for something that you don't want to do. And I fell in love with criminology. I fell in love with research. Specifically for me, it's usually I focus on police research or victim profiling. So right now that's my focus, but it's just like nice knowing that right now I'm just in a program. Oh, and then I switched to an honor specialization in criminology. I forgot to mix that. That wasn't obvious, but now that I've just come to accept that that's not my route anymore and that I'm just doing something because I love it right now, it's just really comforting.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So one of the biggest things that I've noticed, and just because we've talked about this before, we're not doing this all on the fly. We did talk about this before, including Greg's story, which we'll get to in a second. Everybody stepped into university with a plan, and it seems that like pretty shortly, you can't see him, and this doesn't work too well, but he's making faces at me. Pretty shortly after you walk into the door, that plan goes right out the window. And coming from the background, one of the biggest things was a plan only works until it hits the ground. And we'll come back to it probably after the break, but talking about how to adapt to that change and how you guys were able to. But on that note, since I think I talked over your 5 minutes, yeah, we're gonna go to Greg. So this is Greg. He's also a soph. Do you see a pattern here? I have a first year and 3 sophs. Also not my soph, but we've hung around a lot. So he's going to tell us his story, which is pretty interesting. I'm not going to lie. It's definitely, I think, unique for the people I've met so far.
Yeah, I just kind of hate that I didn't actually have a plan in first year. I'm kind of ruining the combo here a little bit.
Oh, you didn't?
No,
you did.
No. Yeah, we'll get to that.
Okay.
It's a fun story.
All right.
So when I was in high school, I had huge aspirations of going to school in the States. Not for anything in particular, just really wanted to go stateside and see if I could become an Ivy League kid or what have you. So naturally that didn't pan out because, of course, little 17-year-old me did not imagine that this would cost money that little 17-year-old me didn't have. So that didn't really work out. And the only reason I had actually applied to Canadian schools is that my wise mother knew that we didn't have any money and knew that Harvard would not be a logistical possibility and made me apply to Canadian schools. But at the same time, I didn't really care about those or put much thought or effort into kind of what those applications were. And as much as I love Western and have really relished my time here, it was just kind of a random draw as to which schools I was applying to and for actually which programs I was applying to. So I ended up at Western for science, and within about a month of that, knowing that I applied to Western on a whim and realistically for science on a whim as well, I knew that I did not want to be a science student really past that. I had no huge aspirations of being a doctor. I think I settled on science just because it seemed like it was useful, but I hadn't really put in the research, hadn't really made a plan, just kind of figured that, science seemed like a good idea, so went for that. After that month, I kind of realized that it wasn't going to happen. That's not really what I wanted to do, so I kind of toughed it out for the year, really coasted as best I could. I don't really know how I was allowed back to university because I really did not do well that first year, but what can you do? And so after that first year, I decided to take some time off of school to kind of reevaluate where I was going and kind of reconsider what my options were, knowing that I kind of had to make a more conscientious decision as to what to do with my university career. So I took about a year off of school where I just kind of worked, entered the workforce, doing that for a while, and all the while trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life. And that kind of brought me back to my high school, not obviously as a student, but as a volunteer. Yeah.
So a quick question is, you took a year off to go work. What did you do?
I was a pool supervisor at a local community center.
So this is, forgive me for saying, but it's definitely not something that maybe you want to do for the rest of your life?
Oh, no. A huge factor in me going back to school was that the job was fine on a part-time basis, but just thinking about doing that and only that for the extended future was not something that I could see myself doing.
Okay.
So I ended up volunteering at my high school for a bit just because they needed somebody to help coach swimming, actually, which ties into my job quite nicely. And I realized kind of that I really enjoyed that. And so I thought about teaching as a possible kind of career path. So when I applied back to school again, because again, I really knew that I wanted to get back into university, I just figured that teaching would be the way to go. And I really kind of set my mind on becoming a teacher. But the thing with teaching is that it's a very crowded market right now, and I'm sure a lot of graduating students are kind of feeling that right now, just because the market really is crowded and they're not hiring teachers right now. So I figured that in selecting what I was going to pursue academically, I kind of had to think about what would actually provide jobs teaching-wise. So I ended up coming back, ironically enough, for a history degree, which is not in demand teaching-wise, but I figured that is something that I really loved and was passionate about and would kind of help me care more about school and academics in a way that I couldn't in first year. And then I kept, so that was a major in history, and then I kept a minor in biology just because I realized, while I didn't want to be a science student exclusively and I didn't want to devote my life to that, that's something that I could see myself teaching for a living. So I actually really want to be a science teacher. I just couldn't completely immerse my life in that as students would. And then I also just kept a minor in French because that is kind of what's being hired right now, and I speak that language. So
fair enough.
I really tried to kind of be useful in what I was selecting course-wise.
All right. And what's the future for you?
So I've applied to Teachers College now, so that's still kind of the main priority going ahead. But I've also applied to law school, partially to appease my parents, partially because the job market is so tough right now. And if I can't really get a job as a teacher, I can always just wander into a law school, and maybe that'll work. It's still a lot of kind of
just
feeling
wander in.
Just wander. Just
wander
walk
in.
in.
Yeah.
Show up one day, they'll take me.
Take a
there.
name tag. You know.
Exactly.
All right.
So it's still a lot of just kind of feeling it out, and I have to wait on acceptances and more applications to kind of see what I can do from there. But one of those two things is probably going to happen, I hope.
All right. Fair enough. So quickly before we go to break, I guess a general question I'm going to put out to everybody, and don't everybody jump on it at once. Are you guys ready for the next phase of your life? Maybe not so much, even for you, Fatma, because we're like
April exams. Are you ready?
Yeah, well, but even second year, like you've sort of got to figure out what you're going to do for second year. So are you guys ready for for the next phase of your life? Whoever wants to go first.
I would say yes. Part of that is having been in school for 5 years now, plus the time off, so kind of 6, I guess. And part of that has been the time off, just actually being a quote-unquote working adult for a little while, has kind of not necessarily prepared me, but put me in the mindset that I kind of have to get ready to move on and kind of take the next step towards postgraduate life, I guess.
As for me, I think I'm ready for the new adventure, a new step, but right now it's stressful because I don't know what that step is going to be exactly. Like for my other years in university, I always knew that no matter what happened over the summer, I would have one more year of school, and that was just a fact. I was going to be doing that, but now the future is uncertain, and it's kind of scary. I'm excited for it, but again, I really don't know where I'm headed.
Please.
Excuse me. I would say that I'm getting ready for it. So I might not be there, but I know what I need to do to get there. And like I'm just starting that process now. And I would agree with the guys when I say like it's exciting. Like there's so many great memories and so much to look forward to in your undergrad. But there comes a time when for me it was this like past December where you're like, wow, it's really starting to like unfold. It's really starting to end, and you just kind of I feel like you just have to accept it, and you just have to get excited for it, because anyone who's listening and is young will know that, or you'll learn fast. Like, it goes by so fast that, like, you gotta be excited for the next step, because you know it'll come just as fast as this part did.
Yeah, and like we said, like you're starting to prepare yourself and everything for it. But the thing is, like, I don't even know what the next step is. Like, do I apply for a different program? Do I stay in my program? Do I switch over to an easier program? Like, there's so many options, which is good, but like it's also stressful at the same time, because like I also like, you can even like do international. You can switch schools. You can switch, like, there's so many options. So it's like hard to decide what you want to do and then where to go from there.
Yeah. I think for me personally, I'm ready for that next step. I'm for social science. For those of you who don't know, in social sci, even though you came in under a program, you're not in that program. It was just a nice way to get in. In your second year, you get to declare, and I think it's actually a really good thing for social science to do. And I understand why certain other programs don't do it, like maybe engineering. But it gives you an opportunity to explore different options sort of within the social science umbrella. And it's not like it's a tiny little umbrella or anything. So next year for me, I get to declare. I get to declare what my major is or what my specialty, what my area is. And I'm looking forward to it, but it's really scary because my plan pretty much eliminates all of my what's the word I'm looking for? Elective courses. You know, like, they're gone. I'm in anthro the whole way, and if that's maybe not what I want to do, So, you know, that's where we are. So we've hit the halfway point in the program, which is really awesome. Thank you for listening, everybody. We're going to do a couple of announcements, and we'll be back in a second. All right.
I'm a friend.
I'm a friend.
I'm a friend.
Be a friend. Friends of CHRW is a free savings card program for Western students and community members to save at local small businesses right here in London. 30,000 cards are to be printed. 26,000 will be distributed to Western University students. And best of all, if you're a small local business, it's free to join. If you're interested in being a part of the 2014-2015 Friends of CHW card, visit chwradio.ca/friends and click on Become a Friend. Be a friend of CHW. We don't bite. We promise. Again, that's chwradio.ca/friends for more info.
Hi, I'm Della, and I'm in second year BMOS, and you're listening to 94.9 CHRW.
The London Yodeler is the Forest City's independent publication put out every other Thursday. Discover stories from the arts community, opinion pieces on different political views, funny bits and more. Find it at the London Public Library, the Arts Project, Grooves, London Music Club, Blackshire Pub, and many other locations in London. The London Yodeler is proudly sponsored by 94.9 CHRW Radio Western. Visit londonyodeler.ca for more information.
All right, you're back with the forum on CHRW. My name is David Sesson, and we're here. Oh, I do it every time. We're here with Greg, Zach, Bree, and Fatma. And before I sort of launch into anything, I just got to do some of the station stuff. So if you want to listen to us, obviously you can listen to us at 94.9 CHR FM with 6,000 watts of power behind it. I just found out that fact. It just sticks in my head for some reason. If you have Rogers Digital Cable, you can listen to us on channel 943. I don't have the piece of paper up in front of me, so this is just, you know. Or you can, if you have a smartphone or a tablet, you can listen to us. Just find the Tuned In app and look for CHRW. You can find us there. Or you can just go to the CHRW website, which is chrwradio.ca. Click on to the Listen Live app, Listen Live tab. So if you're listening to us right now, you're probably doing it in one of those ways. If you want to get a hold of us, if you want to call in, we're not really a call-in show, but if you want to call in, talk to somebody about it, you can give us a call at 519-661-3600. And if you have any comments about the show, any comments about what we're talking about, I encourage you to talk about it. There is a Facebook page for me particularly. It's called David on the Radio. Just search for David on the Radio and you'll find it. And if you have any comments, please put it there and we'll try and get back to you about it. So we're back and we're talking about what to do with the rest of your life and sort of the pressures that people feel at university. I think one of the first things, because I think it starts before you get to university, is that family pressure. And I didn't really feel it this time around, I did have a first attempt at secondary school, and I actually caved into family pressure. I got into the Humber Theater Technical program, and my mother, even though growing up in and around the GTA, my mother was like, I don't want you going downtown Toronto. I don't want you living downtown Toronto. I don't want you to go to a school that's right behind a mental institution. It really is. So I caved into peer pressure, and I ended up going to Sudbury, which the program was one of the worst experiences of my life, and I actually dropped out of the program after the first semester. So, I think everybody feels it one way or another. I just didn't feel it this time. So what are your guys' experiences? And this part of the program, we're all just going to talk. We're going to try not to talk over each other, but we're just going to talk and just shout out ideas. So
yeah, I can start off, but I know with my experience, like I kind of said in my introduction, I know that a lot of my family pressure was actually brought up more from myself. So I was the one feeding I'm doing well in this. I want to do this, just feeding my parents. They didn't know what to expect. They didn't really do university themselves, neither did my older brother and older sister. So I think they were just kind of feeding off my experience, and it was tough when I felt like I put all these expectations on myself, and I obviously shared them with my parents, and then it wasn't just when I wasn't reaching them or meeting them, it was how am I going to tell my parents? Or for instance, this past winter break when we had Christmas with my mom's side, and I remember my aunt coming up to me and saying, oh, here comes the family lawyer. And I was like, oh, someone's got to break it to Aunt Linda that that's not the case. And I don't want it to be me. So, and you realize that these people are still going to support you. Well, in least my situation, I'm lucky to say that these people are still going to support me no matter what, but I just know that it's a lot of just you have all these goals for yourself, and you're so excited and you're so confident that you want to share them and you want to make them proud, and then you're worried that if you don't meet those goals, then you're not going to make them proud.
Fair enough. How do you deal with that pressure?
With the pressure that I put on myself, usually a good resource for me was just always reaching out to my roommates. As well, I know that I was actually just telling Fatma on the break that 4 of my roommates, all of them started in med-sci, and then only now one of them is. So I think we've all had that experience of, regardless how your parents feel, you didn't have that, your expectations weren't met for yourself, and we all kind of relate to that as well. So I feel like having them, not just say I'm going down, they're coming down with me, but more we've all experienced it. We know it's way more normal than I think that people don't realize how normal it is to change your mind in university and to change programs, and it's not failing, it's just changing your mind. Chances are you're not the same person you were in grade 9 from grade 12, so how do you expect to be the same person you are from first year to fourth year, right?
Yeah. Sorry guys, I'll get to you guys in a second, but particularly this was brought up because of Fatma. So I'm going to ask you, how are you dealing with the family pressure? How are you feeling about the family pressure?
Well, to be honest, I haven't really told my dad about the fact that I kind of want to go into nursing.
So he's not going to listen to the radio program?
No, I've just been throwing all kinds of stuff.
The reaction.
I've just been throwing hints about mostly. Well, he's a chemical engineer, so he's all about the statistics and the university's the way to go, and it's the only thing. And yeah, so when I first coming in, I thought the idea was 4 years, you'd be done in med school and then residency, and you're done, first try for everything. But honestly, realizing that it's gonna take way more than 4 years. You might switch your mind 6 times. You might switch your mind 2 times. It's okay. And there's so many things you can go into, which is kind of helping with the pressure, because I'm realizing it's normal to switch your mind. Like Bree said, there's nothing wrong with it. So that's kind of how I'm starting to deal with it. And the other thing is I've been opening up my parents options and showing them how there's so many things you can do. You can apply, I can do 4 years of sciences, go into nursing, and then after that, from nursing you can go off to be a, I forget what it's called, but it's a specialized nurse, which takes more school, but there's always options and stuff to expand into, so that kind of helps. And the other thing is, yeah, you can switch your mind, it's not one thing.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And I think that's one of the big things we're starting to maybe realize today. And part of the point of this program is the more we talk about things, the easier it becomes to talk about them. And the more you start realizing that you're not alone in these problems and that there are solutions. And I think the first one that's sort of coming to my mind right now is changing your mind, having a different idea when you get to university is okay and it's normal. And I think the two guys maybe would agree with that. And what are your sort of thoughts? How are you guys dealing with the pressure?
From our parents, or?
Well, yeah. Let's start with the parental pressure.
So I am fortunate enough that I haven't really felt that. It's more a dialogue with my mom, and my dad just kind of goes along with it, so that's nice. But I think a lot of that too is just being able to be kind of removed from that. I'm originally from Toronto, so my folks are back home, and now that I'm a couple hours away in London, I have a lot more autonomy, and so I'm kind of removed from that pressure almost, and it's not like they can really govern what I'm doing here or kind of be that influential. It's more about me kind of making my own way and having the I guess authority and independence to kind of change things as I would like and as I would want to, and then kind of telling them about that after. Okay. So I think while not everybody can experience that, it in some ways is helpful for kind of negating or mitigating that pressure.
Awesome. Zach?
Yeah, so I think that it was always there was always a pressure for me to go to university. I mean, my entire extended family, they've all been to university. They all have degrees in various things. But my parents never like sat me down and told me that like I had to go to university or anything like that. But I feel like it was just like expected that I would eventually go into some sort of post-secondary program, whether it was college or university or whatever. So when I was actually like applying for universities, I applied to like a bunch of them, and my parents told me that they would really help me out if I went to Western, because they couldn't afford to really help me out if I went somewhere else. So when I actually like chose Western, I think it was just like, it was like, oh well, I'll get the most help from my parent, like financially, like I'll have the most help, like it makes the most sense. I didn't even consider other schools at that point. Like it completely took anything else like off the radar for me.
Yeah.
Not that I regret coming to Western. It was some of the best years of my life. I'm really, really glad I ended up choosing this, but I feel like my parents are like probably the sole reason that I ended up at Western.
Building off of that point, that's kind of why I'm here too. Like I applied to a bunch of different schools. I applied for health science programs, and medical sciences, I think in Ottawa. I applied to like a bunch of places all over Ontario. My parents didn't want me to go anywhere outside of Ontario, so I just applied basically to every school in Ontario. I didn't know where I was going to go. And I wanted to originally go to Ottawa just because like I liked the city and everything, and the program appealed to me, but my parents didn't want me going too far, so kind of convinced me to go to Western or Toronto or somewhere close, McMaster especially. There was a emphasis on McMaster, but I just...
There's that medical thing again.
Yeah, it's just because it was... I'm from Burlington, so McMaster for us is only 20 minutes away, so it was like I could live at home and then go to school. But I didn't want that. I wanted the full university experience, so I didn't even apply to McMaster just to like keep that pressure off. So it wasn't even on the table for me. And
it's a good way to go about it, actually. It's like, I forgot to... I just forgot to apply to that one. Sorry, guys, not going there.
Not even an option anymore. But yeah, so Western wasn't like my first choice, but like I'm glad I'm here and everything. It's just parental pressure.
Yeah. It is a big thing. It's a hard thing, I think, to live up to sort of your pressure. And I actually I understand you completely, Bree. My parents didn't go to university. And certainly, so I'm a little bit further removed from it than you. So like none of my extended family went. None of my wife's extended family. She's the first one in her family to have ever gone post-secondary. And then she went to college. So for me to go to university, I get to one up her finally in my life. Not that that's ever an important thing, or that she's going to listen to this. So I think sort of the other thing that we're sort of touching on that we've talked about, and familial help particularly plays an important role in this, is funding. And a lot of people that I've talked to have been concerned that it's like, oh, if I take another year, I'm just going to waste the funds, or if I'm in a program that I hate, that I've wasted it. Particularly if they initially got into engineering or nursing, where their first year costs twice as much as mine does. So do you guys have, particularly the guys that have been here a little bit before, and even you, Fatma, first years, it's a little bit weird because we're kind of like, oh, that's interesting. Cool. I never thought of that. How do you guys talk? Like, what is your suggestion for the first years who are in this problem, or even fourth years who are like, did I just waste the last 4 years of my life?
Oh, don't say that.
Do you have any suggestions, ideas, sort of?
I mean, at this point, well, all of the money is down the drain. Like, it has been spent. And
You're not getting it back.
I'm not going to get it back, but also I'm never going to forget any of these experiences or any of the education that I actually got from spending all of this money. But I think the thing is, spend the money now, because eventually, hopefully, I'll get some sort of job to pay it back. And I mean, have fun while I can, right? I tried working during the school year while I was doing all of my studies and whatnot, but I couldn't juggle all of that and all of the extracurriculars and doing all of those things. And I was on track to finish debt-free with all of that stuff, but I told myself that I would just stop working during the school year and make the most of my last year at Western while I can and get as involved as possible and do as well as I can on my studies, and just don't worry about the finances until after.
Okay. Anybody else?
Yeah, I mean, when it comes down to it, if you are choosing to think of it and broken down and you're paying money for, this course, or you're paying to learn about whatever you're taking, it's kind of missing the point a little bit. So if you're strictly speaking thinking about paying for the academics, then either way, I think you're going to feel cheated because university can be so expensive. So it's really more getting kind of the value aspect of it and engaging with, I guess, like Zach said, the experience of what you're doing. And that doesn't necessarily mean kind of being completely integrated in everything that the campus has to offer. It's more just taking out of it what you want to take out of it and really kind of pursuing the aspects of university life that you think will be the most rewarding and the most, I guess, bang for your buck, be that in academics, in even in social integration, in extracurriculars, and that sort of thing. And that really kind of helps to make you feel like you're not completely wasting money, even if you are switching programs or choosing another avenue outside of university completely. And if that at all helps you later on in life, or to get a job, then you can kind of see where that value comes in, and it's a little bit more justified.
Perfect.
I would just say too, just from another perspective, I know that some people can't afford literally to just sit back and enjoy it, or just to worry about the finances later. I know some people they need to pay for it themselves, and they need to find resources, and that's what my advice would just be, is just look out for those resources. Ask a counselor, ask a prof, ask if you have a SOF, ask your SOFs. Just look out for any resources you can, because I feel like in such a large university, especially if maybe you're a first year student or an incoming student, even second and third, I guess, you don't realize the resources you have here, because it's so big and so grand that all of the administrative part of it and whatnot, you just kind of look past, but you don't really realize what kind of situation or what kind of help you can get. So I would just make sure you just look into it, just find any way you can. I know for me, I was filling out these forms for a bursary in first year, and I'm not from Polish descent. I'm not related to a war amputee. I'm not going to get any of these. I don't know what's happening. But I ended up getting an email 2 months later, and I ended up getting a $1,200 grant. And I just remember that how happy I was to call my dad and be like, guess what? I don't know how, but I got one. And so I would just say just keep looking for the resources you can. I know on campus jobs too, they're really good with making sure you only work a certain amount of the week, especially the rec center, Spoke, wherever. Just keep searching, and of course make the best of it, but definitely try not to let it stress you out, because it'll just ruin the experience that you're paying for anyways.
Yeah.
I kind of am in first year, so I don't have a lot to build on it, but I am paying for my own school, so everything is on me. And that's kind of one of the reasons why I chose to live off campus.
Yeah.
So obviously res is expensive. So I felt like at the beginning of the year I was really stressing about, how am I going to pay for this? I was trying to plan out the 4 years. I was trying to plan out, okay, if I worked 40 hours in the summer times this many dollars, the rate was at this. It kind of stressed me out a lot, plus school pressure. So I've realized that if I stop planning as much, obviously don't stop planning 100%, but don't stress about it as much. Things will work out eventually, and even if you end up switching programs and paying more, staying longer, it's worth it in the end, because you're paying for the experience. And that's kind of why, another reason why I want to look at international abroad studying. My mom was saying, I know money's expensive and stuff for that, but it's worth it. You get the experience abroad, you get to things you'd never do here, you get to do there. So yeah, just go out and try things.
And sort of build on that, and I guess part of my hopes for this show is that we get to sort of inform a little bit. If you do go on internationals and stuff like that, you're paying Western rates.
Yeah.
You're still considered a Western student there, because I was looking last semester at going to Japan for just looking into it, and their tuition costs are insane, but you pay Western rates. Which is kind of awesome.
And the good thing is, like, you can also get Western bursaries just based on your average if you want to go abroad. So like Bree said, there are lots of resources and stuff. So like, look out for those, and they actually really do help.
Well, there's this sort of interesting thing, and we're getting close to the end of it, so we'll start wrapping up. This is a really interesting point that's kind of come up is for us first years, and you guys looking back, because you're all soft, so you've sort of seen this. How hard do you find it is, or see it, for first years to ask for help? Do you find that they do ask for help? Or even do you find it hard to ask for help? Like I do. I really do. Maybe it's the old man pride thing. Any sort of help. It's like, oh my God, I got to pay, I'm not going to lie. At the end of last semester, it was getting a little bit tight because we're paying for daycare and everything else like that. And it was getting tight there for a minute. So like financial worries, but no way was I asking for help.
Yeah, I'm kind of a stubborn person. Like if I'm lost, I will keep searching for 2 hours, no problem, instead of asking someone. I'm just that kind of person, me. So I don't really like asking for help, and I know like there's lots of resources on campus and stuff, and the softs always like talk about that, which is really good. But me personally, I'm not the type to like ask for help. So yeah, I guess it depends on you.
What do you guys think? How hard is it to ask for help?
I mean, I didn't ask for help when I was in first year. I probably should have. I mean, I got super stressed after. I didn't do so hot on my first set of midterms, and I mean, I didn't like reach out to anyone. I like told my parents, and they talked to me about it. But I mean, as for like talking to peers, like I wish I did. Like if I had the insight that I do now about how university was gonna go, I would have been so glad to have gotten that information and just to like know that everything was going to be fine and that I was going to make university work for me. So I mean, I really do wish that I had taken the opportunity.
For me, I see it's kind of a double-edged sword in that you are off to university and it's your kind of first taste of independence and kind of being able to make your own schedules and choose your own classes that you don't get in high school. So in a lot of ways, you're hesitant to ask for help just because you feel like you should be making your own way. And there's that aspect to it. But at the same time, I think one of the things that Western does best is providing the resources and support and I guess given the opportunity to have students come and ask for help, that if students feel like they really need something, then I do believe that we can offer that to them, and there are resources available and those get used. It's just a matter of kind of balancing those two things out, of trying to figure out when you actually need help from other people and when it's time to kind of just come into your own and really try and figure it out for yourself. Because a lot of these issues are things that, while guidance counselors and your softs and whoever can be of use for that, a lot of it is just kind of an internal thing as well that you kind of have to figure out on your own as well. So it's there. It's not always used as much as it should be, but at the same time, I think there still is a very individualist aspect that relies on kind of self-reliance.
Yeah, I mean, my personal experience, I didn't have trouble like reaching out for help because it was because of my SOPH in first year, and that's why I got into SOPHing. And I'm glad you put a little extra time on because I could go on a tangent about how much SOPHing has mean to me and being both the frosh and the SOPH. But I think what's important is just making, in regards to SOPHing, is just making that personal connection with like your frosh or your first year student, I should say, because it's so much easier to go out to reach out to somebody who you see as a peer or a friend rather than somebody that you see as an authority figure or somebody who may be like more educated or superior than you. So like I know first year, anyone in poli-sci, there's always the papers, and then there's their first, like usually that's the first midterm, and then they also have their papers. And I just remember some of my frosh that I hadn't really talked to or gotten the chance to bond with yet, they kind of came up to me for that paper. And like once you really break the ice just once, it just becomes so much easier. So next thing you know, I had like 8 papers at it. But like of course you don't mind it because you love the job. But anybody who's out there who like doesn't like getting help or who just feels uncomfortable with it, like once you do it once, like you realize how rewarding it is and how I wouldn't say how easy it is, but just how like relieving it can be just to realize that you do have those resources there, and when you use them, you just become a better student. You just become more educated and more comfortable in your setting.
Good. Well, we've hit the end of our hour, which I knew this was how it was going to be with this show. I knew as soon as we actually started getting to this point where we all started talking, things are going to keep coming up. And certainly this whole idea of what do you want to do with the rest of your life is going to keep coming up, because obviously, you know, everybody, when they get to that point, they have no idea where they're going. They have no idea what they're doing. Or you do, but you're maybe a little bit afraid of it. So we're going to keep coming back to subjects, not next week because I feel we need breaks in between them. But so first I want to say thank you to everybody for showing up, joining me on this first episode, and helping me with this project, because I really do think it's a project. And I really do sort of hope that we can make a difference. And that's my sort of hope with this. And it's, you know, silly that it's just radio, but it's not. It's just talking. And the more we talk, the more things will get done. The second thing I want to say sort of as a closing statement is it's hard. University, not even considering classes, just university itself, that change in life is hard. Don't be afraid to make the most of it, as Zach said. Don't be afraid to ask for help, as everybody else has said. But make the best of it, and don't be afraid to try new things, to try and get out there and figure out what your passion is and what your love is. I will say that Western is holding on the 23rd of January a Life After Western accommodation. Ask your SOF, look around campus, the information's there. And if you have any questions, any concerns, if you just want to talk about the show, look for the Facebook page. It's David on the Radio, and we're going to keep going. Thank you very much. This has been The Forum.